My longtime friend from the NFL Network, NFL Media Group, he and Bucky Brooks conduct a must-listen-to podcast, Move the Sticks, at Move the Sticks on social media. My friend Daniel Jeremiah back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, DJ?
I'm doing great, Rich. We're ready to go, man. It's football season.
We are ready to go, aren't we? So just to review, give me your itinerary so far this training camp season, where you have been, so the folks know.
Sure. It was not a geographically friendly trip. So we started out in Los Angeles with the Chargers, then went to Indy for the Colts, then came back to California for the Cowboys, then out to see the Eagles and then the Steelers, and then got home from that trip yesterday around noon. And at 2 o'clock, I got in the car and went back up to the Chargers for their scrimmage last night to double up on them. So we've been on the move a little bit.
Okay, so let me choose the Colts first. Why not? Because they got a rookie quarterback and Jonathan Taylor still holding in. So first order of business, did you see Jim Irsay's luxury bus? And was anybody on it at the time that you saw?
I was there that day. So
well, look at you.
All that stuff went down.
Okay.
Yeah, I was right there.
So
I was at the Wars.
All right. I didn't even know that. I was just throwing a dart at a board and I hit the bullseye. So what happened that day from your perspective? Walk me through.
So you've got the field in front of you. So imagine where I was like towards the maybe like right on the front of the goal line. And then the practice is taking place, obviously, just a little bit, maybe at the 20-yard line to your right. And then at the end of the goal line, there's maybe 15 yards, and then there's the bus parked. So you had Jonathan Taylor in the bus with Jim Irsay while the practice is going on, and word starts getting around social media that this meeting is taking place. And you look up in the stands, Rich, and there's a couple thousand people there. There were as many eyes on the bus as there were on the practice to see what the heck was going on there.
So we all know what happened on the bus and what's happened since the bus. And the question I have for you is, how do you think this is all going to wash out, Daniel?
Well, a couple sides to this thing. For me, on this whole running back debate, and I think, you need to look at each of these cases individually in terms of, does leverage exist? And after being there and watching this team and seeing Anthony Richardson, we can talk about him in a minute, I'm excited about his future and what he can do and what he can be. But I would make the case that Jonathan Taylor has the leverage more so than any other of these running backs that have had issues with what's going on. This is an offense, when you go out there and watch them, I like Michael Pittman Jr., I like Alex Pierce. They've got some big, intriguing tight ends. Jelani Woods is enormous. Mo Alley Cox, two good, solid players. When you line up to play the Colts, Rich, the guy that you fear, the guy that you game plan around, the guy that can beat you quickly is Jonathan Taylor. So just for his talent and where he is age-wise and where he is in his career, and you figure you got to feel really good about what he can accomplish these next 3 years. And then you add into that the pressure he would take off your rookie quarterback. This is one where I'm not saying you cave and pay him Christian McCaffrey money, but I would sure as heck say, okay, here's the number of what it would be the tag the next 2 years combined with what you're making now. And if I'd pay you an extra $10 million over the top of that, I'd make him turn that down. And then I would let everybody then go ask Jonathan Taylor the questions, because right now, holding firm on what he's making, I think there's a strong case to be made. This is not the hill you want to die on.
Right. And then Zach Moss breaks his arm after you saw them. Right. So they have actually one fewer running back that's ready for week one. So why? I don't get it. Like, why wouldn't they go ahead and adjust the contract? I mean, he's in a walk year, so you can't sit here and look at the rest of the league and say, we did something that's completely unprecedented. We've got a kid that used to, 2 years ago was the best rusher, or at least the league's leading rusher in Jonathan Taylor, and we're paying him. Like, I don't understand. It's a total head scratcher. Why are they taking the stance that they are apparently taking, Daniel?
Yeah, and I mean, I get it's one of those things to say, well, we don't have to, right? We don't have to pay him the way the rules are and the way this is set up and the way his contract is.
Right.
I think he's making $4 million this year.
Correct.
And so then you look at the tag, the next year would be 11, somewhere around there. So you're looking at a 7.5 average. To me, that'd be the best $2.5 million, per year that you spent. Say, hey, we're going to give you an extra $5 million on each of these 2 years. You know where you are, and we'll go ahead and give you a $5 million sugar for not only being a great player. Rich, he's like one of the best guys on the team. Everybody loves him. Like, he's a great teammate, all that stuff.
In the league, too.
I look at – yes. And so, look, like Lane Johnson's a great example of a player who's a veteran. He's at a different stage in his career, but somebody that's universally respected. The Eagles don't have to give him more. They could have just played hardball with him with his current contract, but they recognize there's value inside the locker room with these types of things too. It's more than just the money that you're giving a guy. And this is someone at the running back. Look, if he was 29 years old, I get it. You don't want to try and extend yourself out. You could be on the decline. He's a 24-year-old. I know he missed some games last year. I don't see that being as big of a concern over the next couple of years. To me, this one I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me.
All right, so then let's get into what Anthony Richardson looks like. He's a starter, right? They have all intention to start this kid week 1 against Jacksonville. Yes?
I would think so. I mean, he was getting a lot of reps with the ones. Minshew played fine. He was, I think they'd be, competitive with Gardner Minshew. I think they have one of the better backup situations in the league with him. But, to me, it's with rookies, you get out to these rookie training camps and you see guys that just look overwhelmed and you're like, okay, you can't. Like, I think he's got a chance, but this is going really fast and he's swimming. I didn't get that sense at all. I think they've already started a lot of zone read stuff, so they'll be able to really incorporate his legs early as he's continuing to grow into the offense that they want to run there with Shane Steichen. But they can rely on his legs early. And then, throwing the football, Rich, he's enormous. He was about 250, 255 the day I was there. And it's hard to stand out on an NFL field, and he does. And the ball jumps out of his hand, and they can just train him and look, hey, at this point in your career, if number 1 in the progression's there, bam. Number 2's there, bam. If once we get to number 2, you're running. But just get out and go. You use your athleticism, and we'll develop the rest of it later.
So the huge upside that you and I were talking about in Indianapolis in February and early March when this kid was spinning it at the Combine is absolutely a still sky's the limit from your perspective just a couple weeks into training camp in August.
Yeah, no, and I think just let me give you a warning. Just be prepared that during the early part of the season, if people aren't dialed in and watching every snap of the Colts, you're going to have the pro Richardson crowd that's going to take 2 throws that he makes in a week and just say this is the most unbelievable player you've ever seen. And you're going to have the anti-Richardson crowd take 2, underneath throws that are, maybe wildly inaccurate and try and paint him as another thing. So if people are really dug in their camps on this thing, they can try and make their case either way. I would just say I think the kid's going to be really good. I think you got to be patient with him in terms of what your expectations are. But he's not physically overwhelmed. He's not mentally or emotionally overwhelmed. Put him out there, let him get going, live with some of the bumps and the bruises. But there'll be some highlights, I can guarantee you that.
Daniel Jeremiah, my compadre from NFL Network, in the middle of his training camp tour right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Steelers look good. Based on your tweet that I saw over the weekend, I'll give you the floor on what you saw and how good you think Kenny Pickett can be in year 2 with a leap right in front of him. Daniel.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the more improved teams, in the league. So when you look at them and you say, okay, the best way to, the formula for winning in the NFL, great quarterback play and pass rush. You get TJ Watt back healthy. Alex Highsmith and him getting to play together all year long. You know what the numbers speak for themselves when TJ Watt's out there, for a full season. So the pass rush is going to be really good. Then you look on the other side, they've made so many improvements along that offensive line. It looks like a totally different group. So they're in better shape there. Pickett gets a chance to get all the reps, which he didn't last year at this time. So he's just getting all this work in. They're going to be able to run the ball better because of this offensive line. Rich, the tight end, Darnell Washington, he was listed in the 260s. Rich, I've been doing this for 20 years, and he's I promise you he's closer to 290 than he is to 260. Wow. He is enormous. He is enormous. He is not an ounce of fat on him. You talk about standing out on an NFL field. He's a giant. And he was doing one-on-ones against T.J. Watt more than holding his own in pass protection. Tomlin was right in the middle of it. He's going to be a real steal for them in the third round. But Pickett, when you watch him, everything that Joe Burrow does well, I think are strengths for Kenny. Now, Kenny doesn't do all those quite to the Joe Burrow level, but he has all those same strengths. And, with the group that they have in front of him that's better, George Pickens has made highlight reel catches every day. He did when I was there as well. He's got a chance to be a legit one. I think I think this team – I saw somebody on TV the other day debating, are they going to be the fourth team in the division? I'm like, I think they can win this division. Forget finishing in last place.
How about that? I mean, they did, as you know, finish strong last year. You always got to look at teams that finish strong to start equally as strong this year. And and pick and Joey Porter's apparently having a terrific camp. And Pickens, as you know, mossed him. But other than that, that's the only video that's come out pretty much about Joey Porter Jr. He looks good. They got the offensive line shored up, as we all know, in the first round. And Najee Harris coming back. They are under the radar. There's no question about that. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Can I give you a quick Tomlin story about how good this guy is?
Yes.
And which, by the way, shocks me sometimes when you tweet something or what do we X something? I don't know what we call it anymore. But when you put something out there and then people push back, like really, you're choosing to push back on Mike Tomlin being a good coach? Is that what we're doing now? But I was talking to Porter, and they had a scrimmage the night before I got there, night scrimmage. I thought they'd be in helmets, and just kind of doing a walkthrough. They're full pads. They're tackling to the ground. It was a physical practice. Porter's exhausted afterwards when you get a chance to visit with him. And I said, hey, what did Tomlin tell you guys before this practice? I'd imagine you guys probably thought it wasn't going to be as heavy and as physical. He said two things. He said, guys, we're going to find out who loves football and who's comfortable being uncomfortable. And then that was it. And he did.
I'd love it. And I imagine he did find that out by the end of the practice, Mike Tomlin.
It was energetic and competitive. It was a great practice. To show you what kind of respect he has, I got a text because I had tweeted that out. Mm-hmm. I got a text from a head coach in the SEC saying, can you call me? I don't know what he wanted. So I called him when I got back to my hotel. What's going on, coach? He goes, hey, what's Tomlin doing? How you said it was really competitive. How so? Well, what was he doing during practice? What was he saying?
Love it.
I'm like, this shows you how respected that guy is.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. How did the Eagles look to you?
Deep. Full disclosure, I did most of our TV hits from the parking lot, so I didn't get to see all of practice.
That's why I love you. All right, they look deep. So you were deep, is what you're saying. You were too deep from the field, is what you're saying. Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, I got a chance to do some car scouting. By the way, if anybody ever wants to go to training camp and play a fun game, just get right outside the player's interest and try and guess who's in the car that drives them.
Well, you could guess depending on how expensive they are, and and who might have just signed a contract. By the way, Jalen Hurts turns 25 today. How about that? Kid turns 25 today, coming off of that season last year, and I guess that's the general sense, is that they got deeper. And they didn't appreciably change too much. Obviously they lost both coordinators. But I guess then let me ask you, what's your sense of the Eagles prior to the preseason beginning right now, DJ?
Yeah, I mean, I got a chance to visit with, a bunch of personnel guys, coaches, and players after practice and just kind of take their temperature a little bit. The couple of things that I came away, they said, A.J. Brown is so much more comfortable. Think about how good he was last year. But the chemistry continues to grow with him and Hurts. And I think he's, there's another level for him to reach.
Well, that's the secret sauce, isn't it, Daniel? I mean, that's everybody keeps talking about the run game, but Hurts and Brown are an elite A+ deep threat. And we're not even talking about the Heisman Trophy winner that runs like the wind on the other side of the field. You know what I'm saying? So that is pretty big. So I guess what else did you glean from the personnel about the run game with Miles Sanders now in Carolina? I mean, DeAndre Swift was acquired on the third day of our draft coverage. So what do you got for me on that front, Daniel?
Yeah, Swift's going to catch the ball a bunch. So they'll be able to get him out in the formation. You'll see him line up in the slot. They'll split him out wide. It's not going to be just screens and checkdowns. Like, he'll be a big part of the passing game. And then the rest of it's just going to be, it's going to be a committee. It's going to be probably not great for fantasy football because you're going to have Rashad Penny, and Kenneth Gainwell still has his role there. You've got Trey Sermon there, Boston Scott. I mean, they've got a lot of guys. So it'll be kind of a committee approach from that standpoint. But in terms of, being involved in the passing game, I think that's where you'll see DeAndre Swift be a big part of it. And, the forgotten guy there, Dallas Goedert's probably top 5, 5, 6, 7 tight end in the NFL. And that's just another, he's another weapon that they can deploy. So they are loaded. Their second string, you look at their second string offensive line, there's, 2, 3 guys that would be starting for other teams. So they have a deep roster. They can absorb some injuries, provided it's not at the quarterback position.
Daniel Jeremiah here at the Rich Eisen Show microphone and the Move the Six podcast co-host right here on the program again. The Cowboys, Jerry Jones was telling the rest of the division to mind their P's and Q's that Dallas is going to be improved. Is that just Jones bluster, or can you back that up? More meat on the bones there, Daniel.
Yeah, I love the defense. I mean, I think defense got a chance to be, one of the best in the league. They've got, big time. Micah Parsons is a freak show. I mean, you go to these camps, and again, you're kind of looking for that thing that jumps off the field at you. They can't block him, and he just wrecked the whole practice. Probably had 3 sacks the day I was there. He's in the backfield, disrupting almost every run play. They had no answer for him. So he's legit defensive player of the year, dude. So that's what the first thing that jumped out to me. But they're good up front. They've got linebackers that can really run. They've got some depth there. In the secondary, it was nice to see. It's cool to see sometimes guys just need a little change of scenery. Malik Hooker, who just got paid, has been a really good fit for them. He had a pick the day I was there. He was making plays over the top. Diggs is going to make his plays. So they've got a really, really good defense. Offensively, Rich, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little concerned. It's not Dak. I know there's some Dak hate, I guess, out there. Dak's not going to be the problem. They need to get – when I was there, you did not have your future Hall of Fame guard in the mix in Zach Martin. So you don't have him there. Tyron Smith, who's had a wonderful career, he did not look good the day I was there. He just looks like he's really aged and struggled. And then with Zach out of the lineup, you're taking a 6'8" backup and Josh Ball, putting him in at guard, and he's gonna have a tough time hanging in there. And Terrence Steele's coming off injury, so he wasn't a full participant. So it was, to me, in the fronts, it was very lopsided when they were going against each other. It is a defensive dominant group. Offensive line wise, that would concern me. I love Brandon Cooks, the addition there to be a deep threat over the top. But in order to get the ball over the top, you got to be able to hold up in pass protection. So that offensive line to me is something I'm a little worried about.
And Pollard's going to be able to be a bell cow in a way, or do they need Zeke back in this mix? Certainly with Ronald Jones suspended for 2 weeks. What do you got for me there?
Yeah. Maybe a regular cow. I don't know if I'd put the bell cow on him. I don't think you want to give him I don't even know what do you call a regular cow, by the way? Just a regular cow?
Cow. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, just a cow.
Okay.
Yeah, no bell for him yet.
Okay.
So I think you don't want to overwhelm him with carries on his body. I think that would be that would be the law of diminishing returns with that. So they're going to have to spread the rest of those carries around. They like, I was there. The coaching staff really likes Rico Dowdle and Malik Davis, and you got Deuce Vaughn, who's going to be a fun change-up option for them to throw out there. But yeah, I don't think that you just take Zeke's carries and dump them on Tony Pollard. I don't think that's going to work.
And then lastly, Daniel Jeremiah, since we just discussed the Cowboys, this is kind of connective tissue with the Los Angeles Chargers. What will the Kellen Moore coordinated offense look like for the freshly minted gazillionaire Justin Herbert? What do you have for me on that front?
Well, it's an offense. I think the biggest thing for them, two issues last year. Everybody talks about, well, you didn't get the ball down the field with explosive plays, and that was kind of the knock on Mike Lombardi, and that's what you're kind of hoping was going to happen. Or Joe Lombardi, not our former colleague Mike Lombardi, with Joe Lombardi. So that was the one concern, and they didn't run the ball. They couldn't run the ball at all, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out those two are connected. So Rashawn Slater was not at the scrimmage last night. He was there when I was there earlier in camp. I think he just got a little bug or something. He'll be fine. But when he's out there and healthy, This offensive line, their front five is really good, and with Kellen Moore, I think they'll be able to run the ball. You'll see a lot of that outside zone, and Austin Eckler's perfect for that setup. So I think they'll be able to run the ball, which is then going to allow them to push it down the field, which Kellen will do off play action and be on the move a little bit with Herbert. So I think it's got a chance to be a much more explosive group, and that's not it's not really a shot on Lombardi. They weren't healthy up front along the offensive line last year. They couldn't run the ball. And that's that's going to be kind of the key to this thing. But I was there last night, Rich, and Justin Herbert, you kind of forget last year that rib injury that he had against Kansas City, I believe it was week 2, that he just played through, and he played great, but that his legs were not a big part of his game last year. And you were out there last night, and you've seen him take off and go, and he's that's another level that he can get to when he can use his legs. So it'll be an exciting group.
The TCU receiver that ruined my New Year, Quentin Johnson, he looks to be a difference maker as well. What do you think about him coming into this season on offense there?
Yeah, he's got big time juice. Ignore, that's one of the things about the Common. We love it, and I have a great time with you. We have a blast. Some guys, sometimes the 40 times don't match up. Like he looks a heck of a lot faster than he timed. He gets on top, just as you saw, in college football. The first day I was out there, when he was out there, he gets on top of coverage. He gives them another, power forward body out there with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Josh Palmer's having a really good camp. So they've got 4 guys, legit dudes. He wasn't at the scrimmage last night. I think him and Bosa and Slater, I think, might have had the same little bug. But no, he'll add another element to that. I mean, they're power forwards everywhere. They're all 6'3". They're all huge.
Yeah, I know. I have one last question for you, Daniel Jeremiah. I'm trying to figure out which one would be the best one to ask. So I've got the Hard Knocks executive producer, Ken Rodgers, coming on in hour number 3. What's your just 2 cents about the Jets with all the buzz surrounding them and everything about this season? What do you have for me on that? What's your concerns, or you think that they're set? What do you got for me on that, Daniel?
I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't be optimistic. Everybody's going to say the same thing. You got to keep the offensive line healthy. I think, people look and say, you got to keep Becton healthy and get him out there. I mean, that'd be great. To me, the chess piece for this offensive line, you saw it last year, is Elijah Vera
Tucker. Yeah.
Because Vera Tucker can play tackle. You get a tackle go out, he can bump out there. He'll be fine. He'd be an awesome guard. But to me, that's like, if you want to put somebody in bubble wrap on the Jets, I don't think many people would think of that one. But that's the one that keep Elijah Vera Tucker healthy. And Rodgers is happy. I talked to folks in the building, and it's been awesome. The feedback, the communication has been excellent. So I don't worry about them there. And then defensive line-wise, they're going to probably carry 10 guys again. They're really, really deep and loaded. So I don't know the phrase you use, Rich, where you say like you're step on the banana peel, or you're waiting for the bad news to happen.
Oh, don't worry, Daniel. I could do a top 10 list of all of those sort of analogies from my 54 years of being a New York Jet fan. We've got all of them. So
yeah, don't
worry about that. I can help you with that.
I think let's just, whatever wood you've got, knock on it. But
okay,
it's exciting. I know that it's exciting. It's going to be fun to watch.
All right, and then just as an omnibus. 4 quarterbacks for the Niners, 3, and if it's 3, who are the 3 and in what order? Your guess, Daniel Jeremiah. Give it to me. What do you got?
My guess would be I think Purdy's the starter. I don't think there's any debate there. And then I'll guess and say that Darnold ends up being the 2. And then I'll be fascinated with Trey. I love Trey coming out. I love Trey now. Let me just give you one, just like file this. This is with no insider information, but
Excellent.
Just looking at all these rosters and looking at teams.
Yes, sir.
The Atlanta Falcons, if Ritter's not working and you've kind of designed this offense with Bijan Robinson and Algier, and what Arthur Smith, how he loves to run the football, I wouldn't mind seeing it if the 49ers don't, if they're a little down on Trey Lance and somehow it doesn't work out in Atlanta, I wouldn't mind that marriage to give that a whirl.
Okay. So he would be, for the lack of a better analogy, the Tannehill of that offense, because that's where Arthur Smith came from. So that's what you love.
Right. I don't see why he couldn't do that and do that at a pretty high level. He needs to play. Trey Lance needs. I mean, I still believe in the guy's talent. He just needs to get a chance to play. He hasn't had a chance to play.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't look like he's going to get it either this year from what you just said. They wound up 3 on the depth chart.
I mean, they love Purdy, and by all accounts, he's played really well coming off this injury. So,
nice nugget out the door. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Daniel Jeremiah. Greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate you, buddy.
You're the best, man. At Move the Sticks. Check him out on Chargers Radio, obviously, NFL Network, NFL Media Group, NFL Plus. Let's not forget that. And then, of course, his podcast, Move the Sticks with Bucky Brooks, DJ, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.